Hi again. I will be doing the inverse. And so what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be doing the inverse of few equations. So I'm going to do the inverse of a linear equation, the inverse of a quadratic equation, the inverse of a reciprocal function, and the inverse of an exponential function. So you could learn how to do the inverse for all of them. And the inverse, when you're finding the equation of the inverse, what you do, you just change y to x and x to y, and then solve it again for y. And the inverse also is represented as f to the -1 of x. That indicates it's the inverse. So if I want to do this one here, which is a linear equation, and I want to do the inverse, as I said, instead of y, I write x, and instead of x, I write y. Now I have to solve it again for y. So I'm going to move the 2 to the other side, the -2, so it becomes x plus 2 equals 1/4 y. And then, as I always said, cross multiplying is an amazing tool. You learn how to master cross multiplying, and a lot of algebra becomes really easy for you. So cross multiplying, just cross multiply the 4 into this, because it's on the bottom, it crosses the equal sign, it goes to the top. All of this is not on the top. So when you cross multiply it, you multiply it in all of this, don't just multiply it in the x. So you end up with 4x plus 8. So again, cross multiplying the 4 and all of this equals y. And then we will represent the inverse as f to the -1 of x, instead of saying y, equals 4x plus 8. And this is the inverse of this equation. Okay. So here's this one. It's a quadratic. It's a more complicated quadratic than if we just wrote y equals x squared there. But through algebra and cross multiplying and all of that, we could do this with ease. So the first thing we do when we are doing the inverse, we change x to y. So and y to x. So now we're going to solve this again for y. The first thing you want to do when you want to solve this for y, this plus 5, move it to the other side, it becomes x minus 5 equals 1/3 y minus 2 squared. Again, as I said, cross multiplying is such a great tool to use. Cross multiply the 3 into here, and that's 3x minus 15 equals y minus 2 squared. Now we got to get rid of this square. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to square root both sides. And when you square root the side, you got to get plus or minus 3x minus 15 equals y minus 2. And then I'm just going to move the -2 to the other side. So it becomes plus 2. So 2 plus or minus square root of 3x minus 15 equals y. And therefore, the inverse f to the -1 of x for this equation equals 2 plus or minus square root of 3x minus 15. Do the next one. We're going to do exponential one now. So here we go. This is an exponential this is a reciprocal function or a rational function. As I said, I'm choosing the ones that are a little bit more challenging. So if you know how to do this, then the others will be a lot easier. So this one here is the same thing. We're going to change x to y and y to x. So this y, we're going to make it x equals, and now we have two x's that we're going to change to y. And this is where the challenge is. So a lot of students here, they look at this and say, gosh, there are two y's. How am I going to solve for y if we have two y's? Well, again, cross multiply this into the x, cross multiplying the whole thing. You cannot just cross multiply the y by itself. That's not allowed. But the bottom, all of the bottom could cross, go to the top where the x is after crossing the equal sign. So you'll end up with x, y minus x. Remember, we have to distribute the x into the y, and minus 1 equals 2y. Now for me to isolate the y, which I need to do, I have to bring both y's to the same side. So I'm going to bring this 2y to this side. I'm going to bring the -x to that side. So I'm going to have xy minus 2y equals positive x. Now I gotta factor out the y is the greatest common factor, and I'm gonna get x minus 2. See how now we have one y instead of two y's, and we divide both sides by x minus 2 by x minus 2. That's gone. And then y equals x over x minus 2. And again, we represent the inverse as f to the negative 1 of x equals x over x minus 2. Okay. So here's the last one I'm going to do, and this is the last one. This is an exponential function because the x here is an exponent. So to do the inverse of this exponential function, you got to change y to x and x to y again. So we'll have x equals 3 to the y minus 1 plus 2. So the first thing I need to do, bring the 2 to the other side. X minus 2 equals 3 to the y minus 1. Now, one thing here you need to know is the log rules. So log x to the power of n becomes n log x. And log base a x equals b is the same as x equals a to the b. So I don't know which ones of these I'm gonna need, but you know what I'm gonna do? Always if we have an exponent and we need to solve for the exponent, we have to log both sides to be able to bring the exponent down. So I'm gonna go log x minus 2, log the whole thing, equals, when I log this, the y minus 1 will come down. So the log allows me, when I log both sides here, the log allows me to bring the exponent down. Now I'm going to divide both sides by log 3 by log 3. Okay. Now one other rule that I want to show you, it's a change of base, which means log base a x. So log base a x is the same as log x over log a. So this here matches this. Okay, so the log x, so it's here instead of x, log x minus 2 over log a, which is the 3 there, you know. Let me write this a little bit higher so you don't think it's a base. It's log 3, it's not base 3. Okay, so now we divide both sides by log 3, and that's what we did. Now we look at this, so we have this kind of right here, this and this match, and I want to go this way. So then as you see, the a became a base here, and therefore the 3 becomes the base of the log. So log base 3 x minus 2 equals y minus 1. And now I'm just going to take this right there, just move the 1 to the other side. So you'll have log base 3 x minus 2 plus 1. When you move it to the other side, it becomes plus 1 equals y. And therefore the inverse is represented as f to the negative 1 of x equals log base 3 x minus 2 plus 1. And that is the answer. Thank you for watching again. Till next time. Bye-bye.